Your life is your ultimate spiritual practice. In many of my past videos, I've talked about how to be a woman is to have the blessing of not having to have these very intense spiritual practices, because our life is our spiritual practice. Why? Well, women are earth element. We have wombs, and our spirituality is deeply connected to the earth, to the cycles of the moon, to our menstrual cycles. So it's almost like having an innate spiritual system that we can either listen to and follow or completely ignore. So if you're here, most likely you already have a receptiveness to your own spiritual nature, to your own earth nature. And it can be very confusing because whenever we look at all of the books of the past and all of these techniques about spirituality and spiritual practices, they were written for men, just like almost everything, thousands of years ago. So it's very difficult to find, these feminine centric practices or feminine centric wisdom, because the ones that existed were destroyed. And right now we're in a time in history where we have social freedoms in most places in the world, not all, but at least in the West, there are all of these social freedoms that allow us to dive into this exploration again without the risk of death. And we also have achieved, independence in political systems and in financial systems. And now we're learning independence on our own emotional and spiritual inner systems. So this is the time to really tap into these ancient mysteries. And the confusion happens whenever we are on a spiritual journey, looking for truth, looking for wholeness, and then we find all of these like hyper complicated practices, or there's all this rigidity about like, you must do this, you must do that. And it's almost like women begin playing men on a spiritual lens because we don't know any better, because nobody teaches us this stuff. So in this renaissance of feminine centric wisdom, it's very important to bring spirituality into our daily life, not adjust our daily life to spirituality. That is the masculine path of mastery and of stepping and polarizing themselves into the Shiva, the presence, the consciousness. But in this game of duality and finding that inner union within ourselves, it's important to honor the pole of the duality that we are from. So if you are a woman, you are naturally more polarized into the feminine, into the earth, into the womb, into the cycles of your own body and the moon. And this is a beautiful thing. So in this video, I'm gonna cover how to make your spiritual practice your own life, or how to make your life your spiritual practice. And I'm going to give you some tips that are going to help you ground that and be able to implement that right now without having to dramatically change the way you live, but instead just making those little tweaks that honor your own feminine nature. If you're new here, my name is Silvana. I'm the founder of the Venusian Academy, a space for Tantra and the feminine arts. So let's begin. All right, so how to make your life your own spiritual practice. The first thing that you're going to do, by the way, this is going to be a little bit of a practical exercise, so pen and paper so you can work with me as we're doing this. I'll have my notes over here. First thing you're going to do is make a list of all of the things that you do in your daily life. Like, I know a lot of days are different, but there are certain things that tend to be more consistent than others. Make a list of the things that are the most consistent. For example, peeing, brushing your teeth, right? Maybe drinking some beverage, either coffee or matcha or chai or whatever you think is, if that's something you do daily. Maybe you go on a daily walk. I mean, the easiest ones are these like personal care things, because these are things that most of us do every day. So once you have the list of the things that you do, then you're going to connect and think of the tantric archetype. And if you're new here and you don't know what a tantric archetype is, that's a problem. Let me see if I can give you a quick summary. Okay, just go watch. I'm gonna put it in the description box below. There's a video that is called the 10 Mahavidyas, and this video talks about the 10 tantric goddesses. in this video, you're going to learn about the 10 phases of Shakti, the 10 goddesses. There's going to be one or two that particularly speak to you because of whatever season in your life you're in right now. You're going to choose one of these 10 archetypes, these 10 goddesses. And what you're going to do in your, after you make your list of the things that you do every day, is that you're going to choose one of them and you're going to offer her that particular thing that you choose from your list every day. Meaning, let's say that you chose, you notice that out of all of the things that you do more repeatedly every day, brushing your teeth is the one that feels like you just don't miss it. Like you brush your teeth, whether you are hangover, whether you are tired, whether you are on an airplane, you will always brush your teeth, right? So if that's the one thing that you said, like, I know I do this consistently, you're going to choose one of the 10 Mahaviryas that connects deeply with you. Let's say that is Baglamukhi, because you are going through some very intense period in your life where you are like in Martian energy and you are just dominating energy and you're starting business and you need this power, right? And that's the one that speaks to you. What you're going to do every time that you brush your teeth is that you're going to bring your consciousness into Baglamukhi, into this goddess. And you're going to be like, I am thinking of you in this moment. I am offering my presence in this moment. This particular experience is one that you're choosing to share with divinity because you are bringing your consciousness into a very mundane practice, weaving in divinity. And I always say there's two ways of living life. Either everything is mundane or everything is magical. And you get to choose which one you want to live. Either everything is just mundane or everything is magic. And if you're choosing a life of magic, it's like the simplest thing, the most, mundane, sorry about the redundancy, but like the most mundane action that you do every day, activity, behavior that you have every day, that is also divine. Tantra is about weaving. And what we're doing there is that you are weaving something that's very mundane, very everyday, with an aspect of divinity, an archetype of divinity. So in this weaving element of like, I'm bringing my consciousness from divinity, bringing an aspect of divinity, Baglamukhi, the goddess of Mars, and the archetypical dominatrix, and I'm bringing this into brushing my teeth, something that's mundane and daily and a necessity and that I do every day, and it's almost like because it's a habit, it's like you're not really putting any mental energy into it. I'm weaving this very mundane habitual part of myself with this very expansive spiritual part of myself. That simple act is a spiritual practice. As you do that, what you notice is that if you do that with like different things that you do throughout your life, and you start kind of like, watering your plants and then connecting that with a phase of the goddess, with one of the 10 tantric archetypes, then you're kind of like merging these two things together, my daily life with something divine. And I'm just using the tool of my mind, of my consciousness, to be able to direct my awareness there. I'm using the power of my mind to work on my own spirituality. And once we train this muscle, then presence can awaken in this way. But it's not like, we have to return to this earth-based spirituality of my life is a spiritual practice. And to do that, we do have to do some work at the beginning, because unfortunately we live very disconnected lives. Whenever we used to live, closer to nature, that was something that was easier to do. But now we're in our apartments and our houses in the cities, and it's not that obvious. Then we have to help ourselves create that. And as we begin weaving in the divine with the mundane, we begin creating magic into our life. The last thing that I want to leave you with is in the creation of a Venusian life, which is a life based on the principles of beauty, love, harmony. Everything that is in my reality is there to be loved by me. Everything that comes into my reality is there to be loved by me. The definition of what being loved by me is, that's a very personal and sacred journey that each of us has to define. But in a Venusian life, everything is there to be loved by me. So I hope this video was helpful. Sorry about the mess at the beginning. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you want to join the Venusian Academy for free, make sure to check out the description box below with a link on how to do so and a link for my tantric mentorship to get one-on-one work with me. All right, guys, I'll see you next time and have a beautiful day.